Hello everyone, welcome to ES6 Crash Course. To work on any JavaScript framework or library like Angular or React, one must have at least 3 months of experience in ES6. In this session, I am going to cover almost all the important concepts that were introduced in ES6. So before that, please subscribe to my channel and press the bell icon for all the updates. In this session, I am going to break this ES6 concepts into sections. So as part of this first section, I am going to cover let, constant, default parameters, rest operator, spread operator, object literal, for of and template literal. Let's start with let keyword. Let's say you have a code like this where you declared x using the var keyword and assigned the value 10 and open the block. We know that using the condition statements and loop statements we can open the block in JavaScript. And again we declared var x is equal to 20 and we are printing x inside the block and outside the block. So what will be the output? So you might think that the value will be x here 20 and here value should be 10. So let us see. Save it. You can see value 20. So this is wrong and this is also 20. So here what is happening? So here the variable declared in the block scope overridden the value of the variable that is declared outside of the block scope. So let us use the let keyword instead of var inside this and save it. Now see the difference. Here var x is equal to 20 and you can see that here x is 10. So here when you use the let keyword, its scope is confined to the block only. So with var, when you declare variables outside of the function, then the scope will be global. But if you declare inside the function or inside the block, the scope will be local. So here let and var both are same, but the thing is let keyword is blocked scope. And if we change let here again, let x is equal to 10 and you can see the same output. And let us see another difference. So the variables that you declared outside of the function will be added to the window object. Whereas if you declare them using the let keyword, they will not be added to the window object. Let b equal to 40 and let us print here 10 and undefined. So window.a giving the value 10, but whereas window.b given the value undefined. So the variable that is declared using the let keyword is not added to the global scope, that is window object. Now let us see the most important and commonly asked interview question. So to save time, I just pause and write the code. I am sure you might have come across this interview question or this kind of code. So where you have for loops and inside you have set timeout and printing the values from 0 to 9, right? So if you print it, what will be the output? 10 printed 10 times. So actually it should print from 0 to 9, but it is printed 10. So we have the set timeout function inside the for loop and it will start executing its callback function once the timer expires. So because at the last iteration it will come here and check 10 less than 10 and I value will be the 10 at the end of the loop. After 1 second the callback function will execute so that we see the value 10, right? So do the same thing using the let keyword. Now you can see the result 0, 1, 2, 3, 4 to 9. This is because of let keyword creates the block scope. Even if you remove the set timeout function like this, print console.log and just keep instead of let use var 0, 1, 2, 3, 4 till 9, right, values. And let's just come out of this loop and print I. Here you can see outside of loop value 10. Even though you used I inside the for loop, it is still accessible outside and this is not good. For some reason, if you are using the I keyword somewhere else, then it will cause the problem. For that, it is always better to use the let keyword. So it to create the block scope and you don't need to worry about any references. Uncaught reference error, I is not defined. Now let us discuss about const. Const is also similar to the let keyword, but only thing is you can't reassign value to the variable of const. Version 10, and if you try to assign the value again, version 20, and if you save the file, you can see uncaught type error assignment to constant variable. So you can't reassign the value to the constant variable. And if you have an object like this, you can modify the object like this. So you can modify object like this which is declared using the const. And now let us see default parameters. So I just comment this code. So let's say we have a function person. So I am sure you might have come across this kind of code. So where we declare the person and we are setting the default height. So when you don't pass any arguments to the person function, then we are assigning the default height 170 and 30. So instead of writing code like this, you can use the default parameters, like instead of this, just keep the height, and here just assign the value 170 and here assign the value 30. So here what is going to happen? So when you call a function person, and if you don't pass any value, the value of the height will be 170 and the value of the age will be 30. So you can see the same thing by printing here. You can see 170 30. So we didn't pass anything. So at the time of calling a function, if you don't pass any arguments, then the default values will be assigned to the height and age, that are 170 and 30. And even if it pass undefined also, the default values will be taken. So let's say undefined. So even in this case, the default value will be assigned to the height and age. And even if you don't pass like this, also default values will be taken to the height and age. Not just the values, you can assign the functions also to the default parameters. Like let's say here function. So assume you have a function required argument and it is throw the error. So let us assign that to the height. Same way assign here also. Now just remove this call and save it. Now if you call person and without passing any values, so let's save it, you can see the error required parameter. So what is happening here? When you don't pass anything, which means you are passing the undefined. As I said, when you pass the undefined, the default value will be assigned. Here we are assigned the function. So this function will be called and it will throw error. But if you pass any value like 170, let's say, still you get error because you have to pass for the age also. So let's pass something else to age. Now we can see 170 and 20, right? So you can use the default parameters like this also. Like this you can enforce the validation also. Let us discuss about REST operator. Let's say you have a function called sum like this and accepting two parameters and printing the sum of them. So we are calling it. So when you call it, you can see the result will be 3. Assume at one point of time you require to pass more than two parameters and get the total of them. So in that case, you need to change the definition of the sum function to receive more than two parameters like C, D, if there are 4 arguments you are going to pass. But if you don't know how many arguments that you are going to pass, it may be 10 or 20 like that. So in that case, you can use the REST operator. So, and you can just use the 3 dots, 1, 2, 3, and you can give any name. I am giving here args, and not just the args, you just give any name. So let's say 1, 2 we are passing, and 1, 2 will be assigned to A, B, and 3, 5, 6, 7. And now if you print it, you can see that 3, 5, 6, 7. And as I told, 1, 2 will be assigned to the A, B because we have already have A, B parameters here. And 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So args given the array. Like this, if you don't know how many parameters you may require for the function, then in that case you can use. And now to calculate the sum, you can just remove this A, B also, and just you can have this args, and you can define logic here using the for loop, right? For loop, let I equal to 0, I less than args dot length I plus plus, and you can have variable here tot equal to 0. So like this you can write the logic and print the result like 24, right? This way REST operator is very useful. Now let us see spread operator. REST operator is very useful. You can see that this operator is being used very often in JavaScript, Angular, React, or any other JavaScript library or framework. So just look at the code. You have array 1 and with values hello, true, 7 with the 2 different kind of values. And so if you want to merge the 2 arrays, you wish to use the concat method like this. So if you just go and print console.log, you can see the whole values in 2. So you can see the whole values like 1, 2, hello, true, 7. So using spread operator, you can write it is very easily. Instead of concat, what I do, just this is how it was, right? So just add comma and use 3 dots the way you use for rest operator, and here use the 1. And now you can see the same result, and 1 2 hello true 7. And now here you can see the syntax is very easy and you don't need to use the concat method. Let us see another scenario. Using spread operator you can do the shallow copy. So let's say you have constant array1 equal to, so normally we copy like this, like array1 to array2, but we know that arrays are reference type. So when you make changes to array2, those changes will be reflected in the array1 too. So instead of that, you can do the shallow copy using spread operator. Open the brackets like this and then 3 dots, then array1. Now this is shallow copy. So to prove that, just I will add another item to the array2. Now array2 contains all the items of the array1 only, like 1 4 5 6. Now what I do, I just add array2 dot push add say 90. And now let us print both array1 and array2. Console.log, you can see that array1 having 1 4 5 6 and array2 is having 1 4 5 6 90. Adding the item to the array2 didn't affect the array1, so which means it is shallow copy. So using spread operator you can do it very easily. So let us discuss about object literal, right? So let's say you have a function, let in ES5 we used to return the object like this. So like name and name, age. So we know that this name refers to the parameter name and this age refers to the this age, right? Now if you call the person, we get it. If you call this person object, you can get name Krish and age 30. So this is how we used to write. So now instead of this one, you can just simply write name here, just remove this, and age, just remove this. Now just again save it, you can see the same result, Krish age. So here what JavaScript will do, so JavaScript will look for the similar variable names in the nearest scope. So if it found those variable names, then what it will do, it will assign the value of those variables to these object keys. So that's how it works. Let us see another scenario. Let's say you define name John and let age 40, and here I am going to define object now person, and here I just mention name and age. And now if you go and print console.log person, you get the result. So you can't create the duplicate variable names or object names using the let keyword. So we have already person here. So what I do, I just comment this out. And now you can see that John and age 40. So when you define like this, like when you create the variables like this, and but you define only keys, similar way how object literal worked in the function, same way it is worked here. So here name age, it look for the same variable names and it assigned those values to the name and age. That is about object literal. Now let us discuss about template literal. So prior to SCX, you will define string like this, let str equal to, using double quotes you used to define, right, hello. And if you want to add some name, let's say I will add let name equal to John, and we used to concatenate using the plus symbol and say name, and we see John, right? Like this we used to do. But using template literal, you can define it in very meaningful way, like let str1. I am using str1 because we are already having str. You can use the backticks like this, and you can mention hello, and you can use the dollar symbol, and then you open this brackets to evaluate the expression. So that is nothing but our name. And now if you go and print str1, you can see hello John. Sorry, earlier we need to print str1, I just printed name. This is very simple way, and you can use this dollar symbol and you can mention that name directly here. Even you can define the multi-line strings very conveniently. So let multi-line, and you can use the backticks and you can write whatever. and like this you can define it. But in ES5 you used to use the plus symbols and it was not very convenient and it was not very beautiful. You can see the uses of this template literal very often in working on JavaScript or React or anything, like where you forming that HTML string or where you creating the templates and printing the values using the loops. Now let us go to our next concept, that is for off. Assume you have customers array like this, and if you want to iterate it, you use the for loop. Let I equal to 0, I less than customers dot length I plus plus. To display the name, you will be using console dot log customers of I dot name, and same way you use for age customer dot name age, and if you save it, you print John 20 Chris 30, right? This is how you used to write the code. So you can make this code very simple using the for off. So for let C of, you can use any name, C of customers. So here C refers to the single customer at each iteration. Just console.log. Now you can write, instead of customer of I like this, just you can write C.name and C.age, and if you print, you can see the same result, John 20 Chris 30. So this is the simple logic and compared to this one, and this is how you can use the for up to iterate the object arrays mostly. So by this we completed our first section. If you have any doubt, please leave a comment. Now let's move to section 2. In section 2 we are going to talk about destructuring. So we are going to talk about array destructuring and object destructuring. Remember, these two are very important. So we have array with marks 60, 70, 80. So if you want to assign these 3 marks to the 3 variables like first, second, third, so we used to do like this: constant first equal to marks of 0, and same way. So using array destructuring, you can do it in simple manner. So you can do it like this: let first and second, third equal to marks. Let's go and print console.log first, and before that we need to comment this code because we have declared the same variables. Now if we see 60, 70, 80, right? So using A6 array destructuring concept, you just written a single line of code and it is pretty neat and understandable. So here you no need to use this index, right? 0, 1, 2 like this, and it is very tedious, but this is the very easiest way. Even you can declare the variables like this: let, and you can remove this let here, and it works same. So you can define these variables outside also. So remember, you can use only characters or strings, but you can't use the numbers. So if you try to do this one like this, let 1, 2, 3, and if you try like this, you get invalid destructuring assignment target. So you should use only characters or strings. So undo it, and let's take another example, like not just assigning this, you can assign the function also that is returning the values. Like you can write a function like get marks, and where you return this array, you can directly use this. Just save it. Now you can see that 60, 70, 80 only. So let's say you have like A, B, C. You have array where it is having John. Here we have A, B, C, D variables, but we have only 3 values. So what will be the result of D? So we know that A will print John and B will be printing February and C will be printing March. But what is the value of D? So D value will be undefined in this case. So you can just confirm that by printing it. So if you print it, you will get undefined. So So whenever there is no value that can be assigned to the variable, then the value will be undefined. But whereas ABC, you can see value January, March, April. So you can see values for ABC as Jan, February, March. So if you save it, you can see Jan, Feb, March and undefined. In the same way, let's say you have April. So even if you have like this, now you can see the value D is April, but whereas May is not assigned to anything and it will be left. So it will not be assigned to any variable because we have only 4 variables here, but the values are 5. And another important thing, you can assign the default values to these variables. So let's say you have x and y variables like this and it is assigned to empty array. Now you can guess that x comma y will be undefined because there are no values in the array, right? You see undefined. So in this case, if you would like to have some default values, you can just assign the default values. You can just assign here 10 and let's say now you can see that value 10 comma 20. So when you expect undefined values or no values, in that case you can just assign the default values. Later on, if you have the values like 90 comma 40, so now the values will be 90 and 40. So the best example is you can call maybe get marks here only, and you can use get marks and you just pass empty array, save it 10 and 20. But if you pass the values, then it will be 60 and 70. So this is one of the useful feature. So not just like this, so even you can assign the default value of one variable to another variable. Like here x equal to 10. So if you want to assign that x default value is the y also, you can assign that. So let's say y equal to x. So you can mention like this. Now what will happen? So when you save it, you can see 60 and 70. So 10 and x. If you just written empty values, now you can see 10 10, right? 10 and 10. But if you pass some values, then these default values will be overwritten. So when you just written only single value, here we assigned y equal to x. So the result will be 60 and 60. So this is about array destructuring. If you have any doubt and if you want me to cover anything, please leave a comment. Now let us see object destructuring. So let's say you have the object called person and name and age properties. So if you want to extract the name in ES5, you used to do like this. So let name equal to, and you do person dot name. So this way you do. So but using object destructuring, you can do it in a single line of code and also in very simple manner. So you can do like this. You can use the curly brackets like this and name equal to person, and here this is equal to this one. And if you go and print console.log, so you can see Janu, right? So object destructuring works like you can define the data type and then identifier, and the person is like expression here. And now if you want to the multiple values, you can do it all that one also. If you want multiple values, name comma age, and here you get them. So we can see Jan and 30. Whereas if you want to do it in ES5, you need to use the another line and mention age like this. So here this single line is equal to these two lines. So if you observe, object destructuring is almost same as the array destructuring. The way we had default values in the array destructuring, you can have the default values here also. Let's say you have name, age, and I will have gender, and let's print gender here, and we know the value will be undefined because the person object is not having the property called gender, so obviously we get the undefined. And now let us add the default value for that. So how to add the default value? You can assign like this, and if you print it, you can see that male. So this is how you can add the default values to the property. Next thing is you can have the alias names for the property. So here you have gender, right? So you can have the alias, let's say sex, and now if you print it, you get the error because reference gender is not defined. So you need to use the alias here, sex. You can see that male. So you can, this way you can add the alias also, and you can access the nested objects also. Let's say you have the nested object like here, let's say address, and where you having the address with the value city, So now we can access the nested object address same way how we access the property. So if we mention address, now we just directly access that. So here address, and you can see that city Bangalore. If you want to access the nested object property, then you need to mention like this. And now here city, so let's go and use city now, and you can see Bangalore, we get it. Let us see the use case. So this object destructuring is very useful when you want to iterate the array of the objects. So in that case, if you are iterating using any for loop or any ngFor or something, there you can do that object destructuring, and each time you don't need to use person dot, person dot, person dot name, person dot age, person dot gender like that. So you can just destructure and you can use them in the looping or iteration. So with this we completed the section 2. Let us move on to the section 3. So as part of this section, we are going to discuss about modules. So what is a module? So in JavaScript, module refers to the piece of code that is independent and reusable. So you can write all the code that you wanted, and you can export only the code that should be accessed by the other parts of your code. So let us create a file, new file, and I am going to save it as customer.js. So here I am going to create a function constructor of customer function. I use name customer, and params I am going to receive name comma age, and here let us define this dot name and this dot age, and here I am going to define two functions that returns the name and age. So function get name, and it is going to receive customer and return. Let us use the ES6 backtick syntax. Customer name is, and we know we need to use the dollar symbol, and then cust dot name, and same way just copy and paste it. Customer is age, then old. So now we have the customer function constructor array class, and we have two methods, get name and get age. So if you would like other parts of code should access your customer and get name get age functions, then you should export them. So you can use export default. So export default customer. So by default it will export the customer. And now how to export the functions, and you can use the default for only one object, like whether it is function or like this, export default and get age. So you can't do like this because you can have only one default. So now let's remove this, and to export functions you can use the curly brackets like this, name comma get age. So like this you can export. Now we exported customer class and get name get age functions also. So now we exported our code, and in order to use this code in other module or other file, you must import it. So for that, let us go to app.js, and here I am going to import. So usually this import statement should be at the top of the file. So since we already commented entered the code, this is top of our file. So import, and here I am going to use customer. You can see as soon as I type customer, it gives the syntax like this. So from customer, and you need to use the .js. So the customer from customer.js. Let's save it. You get the error like cannot use import statement outside a module. So in order to use this customer in the app.js, so you need to mention the type module for the app.js. So go to the index.html, and here just mention type module, and now you see you don't see any error. Go to the app.js. Now we got the customer. So we exported it by default. So now here just create a customer objects equal to new customer, and let us pass the name John comma 30, and now let us call the functions. So we have the functions, right? So now we just created the object of the customer, but now if you want to call this get name and get age, we need to import them also. So how to import? So to import the non-default objects, you need to use the brackets like this, and here you need to mention get name comma get age, and here you need to use the comma. Yeah, so now you can call this get name and get age. So just use console.log and get name of, I'm passing cust, and if you save it, now you can see that customer name is John, and same way you can call the get age too, get age. So this is how it works, and here we exported customer default, right? So you don't need to use the full name, you can use the alias name also. Just you can mention C, and you can use the same thing here, and it works perfectly. So you can use the alias names for these exported values, like get name, right? You can use get name as GN and get age as GA. So let's say now we can use GN and GA, and if you save it, you can see the same result. And everything in the model is private by default, and it follows the strict mode. You know to use the use strict keyword. So you can make use of this model concept to write the utility classes or some calculation classes. So also you can reduce the loading time of the files. So hope you liked it, and this is about models. In our next section we are going to discuss about classes. Hello again. In this section we are going to talk about class. Assume you have a requirement where you need to create more than one object, like const customer name John, age. If you want to create this kind of objects more than one, so obviously you do like this. So and you will change customer 1, customer 2, like that. So this way you create more than one object. So when you are required to create more than one object like this, then it is better to create the template for that. So generally we create the function constructor template like function customer, and it should accept 3 parameters: name, age, gender, and inside that you go and create the variables like this dot name equal to name, and we know that we will create the object for that. How do you create? So let C1 customer 1 new customer, and it will take 3 parameters. So whenever we create an object like this, the function constructor get called and it will take care of the installation part. So this is how we implement in ES5. So now let us see how to implement the same thing using the class in ES6. So class, and you mention customer, and here is the class is the keyword and customer is the class name, and it is always preferred to use the Pascal case, like where first letter of the word will be capital, and then you need to open the curly brackets like this, and here this installation part will be taken care by the constructor of the function here, and here we have the constructor. So constructor, this constructor should accept the 3 parameters so that it can initialize the values. So just copy this and do it like this, and here underscore name, you can use the name or any property whatever you like, equal to name, and now this is equal to this one. So we can create the customer object in the same way how we create for the function constructor. I'm just copy this because you can't have the duplicates. Take this one and press here, save it, and let's go and log it. C1. Here you can see that customer, and it is having the properties like age, gender, name, and you can see that it is having the prototype also, and where it is having the constructor again. Now let us see how to add the functions or methods to the class. So get name, and this is the method or function, and here you don't use the function keyword, just you can define like this. So it is the function name, and these are the parentheses to accept the any parameters if required, and we just open the curly brackets, and here you can just return or console whatever. So you can just write maybe customer name is, and you can use this symbol. So you can mention here this dot underscore name, save it. And now how to call it? The same way how you call the function constructors object method. So here c1 dot get name, and if you save it, you can see that customer name is John. So this way you can add the methods. So as I said, in case of function constructor, so when you create the new object, what will happen? The functions constructor will take care of the initialization of the variables, right? The same way here also, when you create the object for the class, this constructor get called and it will take care of the initialization part. We are going to see how to add the getters and setters. So using getters and setters, you can achieve the encapsulation. So encapsulation is nothing but providing whatever required and hiding the data that is not needed to export to the outside of the world. It's about securing the data. You can add the getters, so just use the get keyword. You can't have the same name that you used in the property. Like here, this dot underscore name is there, so you can't use underscore name for the getter or setter. So what you need to do, we can give the name, let's say name, and I'm going to return this dot underscore name. If you want to get the only name of the object, then you can use this get method. And also same way you can use the set method also. So using set method, you can set the value. Set name. This is not method, this is getter, because you can see that there is get keyword is there and then name is there. So this is getter name, this is set name. So now here what we can do, we need to pass the value, right? When you are setting the value, you should pass it. So name, and here let's go and assign this dot underscore name equal to name. So now let us call. You can call it like this. So c1 is the object, right? c1 dot, you don't call get or like that, you just mention name. And also you should not use like this, because this is not a method. So this is the getter, so you should not use the parentheses, just you will call like c1 dot name. So if you just console it, you can see the same value, c1 dot name. Now you can see the John. Same way you can set the value using the set. So how to do that? So c1 dot set name is the property, and again you should not call like this, just set name, and here you can give any name. Save it, and now here Janu only, but after that we are setting the value Krish, and if you print again this one, after setting it, you will get the value Krish, John Krish, right? So this is the latest value. And you can have only get also. Instead of having the set, you can have the only get. So in that case, you can just comment this code, c1.name is Janu, and we are setting c1.setName. Of course this is not there, so what you do, we just remove, but we mention just c1.name, because here we are calling c1.name. If you try to access like c1.name, let us see what will be the output. You can see that, so cannot set property name of customer which has only a getter. So it is having only getter and you can't set the value. And let's try to do using like this, then it will work. But this is not the good practice to do, because you should not expose this underscore name to the outside of the world, and you should not do like this. So I just uncommented this set name. So now let us talk about the inheritance. So what is the inheritance? So inheritance is the concept that you have in Java, C#, in other programming languages. Inheritance is the concept you can reuse the code. So for example, you have a website, and where the customer is the part of that website, and also administrator is the part of the website, but the customer and administrator will share the same properties like name, age and gender, but their roles will be different, right? So admin will have the more privileges, like he will have the admin role and he can do more than what customer can do on the website. So if you want to create the administrator class, the administrator can inherit the properties of the customer. So using the inheritance administrator class, no need to define all these properties again. So let's say you have class customer, and let us create another class admin, and here admin should extends the properties of the customer, right? So you need to use the keyword called extends. So this is how you do the inheritance in JavaScript. So class admin extends customer. The admin extend the customer means the admin will have the properties of the customer. So like age, name, gender. Just create the object for admin. A equal to new admin, and see, when you use this parenthesis, it is saying name, age, gender, properties. So it is giving auto intelligence. So because admin is inheriting the properties of the customer, it gets the properties of customer like name, age and gender. So here you can pass those values like male, save, and let us print console.log a, and if you print it, let's see what will be result. You can see the admin here. So this is the first statement, and here you can see age 20, gender male and name John. So because it is inheriting the properties of the customer. So when you do that, what will happen, this admin's constructor will get called and it will assign those values. So age 20, gender male and name John, and you can see that prototype. So it is saying the prototype is customer. So because it is inherited from the customer class, you can see the prototype is customer here. And now here we need to mention constructor. So every class will have some default constructor. So if you want to pass some arguments and initialize the values, then you need to define the constructor inside the class. So but if you don't want to pass any arguments, in that case you no need to define the constructor. Now here constructor, and so it is going to receive one property, that is role, because admin will have the another privilege that is called role. See, you get the error now. What is happening here? Reference error, must call super constructor in derived class. So here admin is called derived class and customer is called parent class. So there are so many terms people use, like customer is called parent and also admin is called child. So in all languages people will be using this kind of words like parent class, child class, derived class. So derived class is admin because it is deriving all the properties of the customer, right? That's why. So now it is saying must call super constructor in derived class. So before accessing the this or returning from derived constructor, right? So if you don't have the constructor, it automatically call. So if you don't have constructor, you can see that it won't give error. But if you define the constructor, you must call the super constructor. Sorry, parent class constructor using the super. You just call super and save it. Now you see you don't see any error, right? Here we have role. So this dot underscore, this dot underscore. So here if you observe, we didn't pass any parameters to the super, right? So here we call this super, and here if you see we passed John 20 male and these three arguments, and but now if you see the admin, you can see that age undefined, gender undefined, name undefined, because we passed these values but we didn't pass those values to the super constructor. So which means these values cannot be initialized. So for that you need to define these three properties in the constructor of the derived class. So now the admin class or derived class or child class. So this is receiving the parameters name, age, gender, and we need to pass these to the parent class so that these values will be initialized. And if you save now, you can see the values now like age 20, gender male, John, name John, and role is undefined because we haven't passed the role here. So you can pass role admin. If we save, now you can see all the details like age, gender, name, role, everything you can see here now. So just quick recap. So we use the class keyword to create the class in EX6 or JavaScript now, and customer is the name of the class, and it is always advisable to have the Pascal case for the class name. Then we will have the constructor. Using the constructor method, we will initialize the values that are passed to the class while creating the object. And name, get name, and these are methods. So we can add the method like this, and we can add the get and set. So use the getters and setters to get the value of property of object, and also to set the value to the property of object, use the setter. And you can have the only getter, or we can have the only setter also. So when you have the class that is having similarities to the another class, then you can use the inheritance. And here we have the admin class. It extends the properties of the customer, and we use the constructor again here. So we call the super to initialize the values of the properties that were inherited from the customer class, and also we can define the another new properties in the admin class or in derived class. And you can create any number of objects for the class. So there is no limit that you can create one or two. So you can create number of objects for the class. So the class is nothing but a blueprint or template. So this is about class. So if you have any doubt, please leave a comment. I will be happy to help you. Hello guys, welcome to another interesting session of JavaScript. In this session we are going to discuss about what is array function, what are the different ways of defining array function, how this keyword behaves in array function compared to normal function, and other differences between the array function and normal function. Let's say you have a normal function sum which accepts two parameters a comma b and returns the sum of them. So this is the simple way to define the function. So now let us define the same thing as a array function. So constant sum1. I am using sum1 because we are already having the function name sum. And here you take two parameters and you return a plus b, right? So it should accept a comma b. So when you have the more than one parameter, you have to enclose them in the parentheses. Array function implicitly returns the value. You don't need to mention the return keyword. Array functions were introduced in ES6 and they provide simpler syntax to define the function. So let us print the value console.log. You can see the result 8 here. Now let us define the array function with a single parameter. So when you have the single parameter, let's say double, and it takes the single parameter, let's say x multiply x. So when you have the single parameter, you don't require to use the parentheses. You can simply define like this. You can see the result 81. When the function is not accepting any parameters, in that case you must use the parentheses. Let's say like this, say hello. So when the function having more than one statement, then you must keep the statements inside the curly brackets. So like this, constant, let's say calculate salary. In this case, let's see if I have more than one line. So I'm just writing for example, because this one you can write in simple line and return it. So when you have the more than one statement, you must enclose them inside the curly brackets and you have to explicitly return the value. These are the different ways of defining the array function. Now let us see how this behaves in array functions compared to the normal functions. So let's say you have the object constructor person function, and I just define some properties. Let's add one method greet. So when you add the function to the object, it is called as a method. This dot greet and define function, and here just return hello this dot name. So this is ES6 way of defining the string. So now let us call this greet function. To do that, we need to create the object of the person. So constant p equal to new person p dot greet. So just print this one again. You can see hello Krish, right? So there is nothing special here. Now let us add the nested function inside the greet method. So I'm going to define function get age, and it returns return age is this dot age. Now let us call and print the value of get age. So I'm going to use console.log. Now just guess what will be the output. Save it. You can see age is undefined. So This is what you need to observe. So why it is saying age is undefined? Here you can see that we are calling this getAge function inside this greet method, and this getAge function will refer the global scope. So that's the reason you can see that the age is undefined. Let us print here console.log this, and you see what is the output. You can see the window. So this getAge is referring to the global scope, which is window, and that's the reason you can see this dot age is undefined. So this is the reason in many applications you see that programmers will be defined like this: constant underscore self equal to this. So to access the scope of this object, person object, the programmers will define like this: constant self is equal to this. And now if you use this self here instead of the this keyword, you see that age is 40, right? But still this is, and here this is referring to the global object, which is window object, right? Window object. And that's why in many applications you see that this kind of declaration will be there. Even in many scenarios you will have the requirement like you want to show something after 2 seconds or 5 seconds after calling this greet method. So in that case normally we use set timeout, and in the set timeout if you have the normal function instead of the arrow function, for example let's say function, and here if you want to return the age, right? If you want to return the age, or if you want to just do something and print the value, or if you want to access the the person scope, and if you mention this dot age, you get value undefined, right? And sorry, timeout I have to define. I say 1 second. You can see that value undefined, right? Instead of that, if you use the underscore self, you get the value 40 after 1 second. I'm sure you might have come across this kind of usage, right? And now let us use the arrow function. So here I'm going to define the arrow function. So constant I'm going to use get age 1. Here I'm going to write the same thing, like maybe return age is this line, and let us call the get age 1. Now let us see the output here. So the age is 40. So this is coming from this function because here you use the self, and then you can see age is 40, and this is coming from this arrow function. Let's say I mention from arrow function, so it will be clear. You can see that from arrow function 40, so age is 40. So no need to use the self. If you use this also, we get the same output. So this way this object or keyword will behave inside the arrow function compared to the normal function. Arrow functions refers to the parent scope, whereas normal functions will refer to the scope from where they are called. Now let us see another difference, that using arrow function you can't create the constructor. So here we defined the person using the function syntax, normal function syntax, and let us define the same kind of object constructor using the arrow functions. Let's say constant car equal to, let's say this dot name something, and here let's try to create the object of the car. Constant c equal to new car, right? Let us see the result. You can see that car is not a constructor, so you can't create the constructor for the object that you created using the arrow functions. So now let us see the another difference, that using the arguments. So function collection, and if you are calling collection by passing some random numbers, so if you want to print it, normally we use the arguments, right? Console.log, and if you print it, just comment out this because it giving the error, so comment out. Now let us see the arguments, and you can see the values that you are passed 2448049. Let us define the same thing using the arrow function. Constant collection, let's say 1 equal to, and let us call this collection 1 also, collection 1, and save it. You see the error, arguments is not defined. So arguments are not supported in the arrow functions directly. So what is the workaround? For that you can use the spread operator. And now let's see, now you can see the value. Let's say I pass something else. So we used to consume the promises like this and write the callback functions like this, right? For each callback function you need to write like that. But so using the arrow function introduced in EX6, you can write this simple and cleaner code. So just remove this, that's it. So this is about arrow functions. Hello again. Let us see how to create the promise and consume them in this session. Before that, what is the promise? A promise is an JavaScript object that acts like a placeholder for an asynchronous operation. In simple words, a promise is a container for future value. Let us take an analogy to understand the promise. Let's say you asked your friend to book a movie ticket, and there will be three possibilities. Like your friend may book a ticket or may not book the ticket, and your friend will book the ticket, and your friend will deny to book the ticket. So, like these three possibilities, promises also will have the three states. So, let us discuss about life cycle of promise. In the very beginning, promise will be in the pending state. At this stage, an asynchronous call that you made is still running in the background. Once the task is completed, then the promise will be in the settled state. There are two kind of settled promises. One is fulfilled promises and the second one is rejected promises. The fulfilled promises means the asynchronous operation is resulted in value that you expected. And rejected promise means there is a error due to network issue or due to offline. Now let us see how to create a promise. I just comment the code that we have written in our last session. As I said in the beginning, promise is a JavaScript object. So new promise, and this promise constructor will take a parameter called executor, which is a function. So function, and this executor function will be called whenever we create the promise object. Means whenever we say new promise, then it get executed. And again, this executor will take the two parameters. One is resolve and reject. You can see the definition here. Resolve is again nothing but a function, and reject again nothing but a function. So that's it. And let us save this promise into a variable, constant promise. So let me run it. Now we have created the promise and stored in a variable called promise. As I said, the executor which we passed into promise constructor will get executed as soon as we create the new promise. So which means by the time it get executed now. So let us console it, console.log promise called. Save it, and you can see that promise called, which means it got executed whenever we created the object of the promise. And now let's go and print the promise variable. And now we check promise, and you can see the state pending, which means we have created the promise and the promise state is pending now. At this stage, you don't know that your friend will book ticket or not book the ticket. So this stage is pending stage, and you can see the promise state pending, and promise result now it will be undefined. Now the state is pending. So now let us assume your friend booked the ticket, which means your friend fulfilled his promise and you got the expected output. So in that case, we have to use resolve. So resolve ticket booked. And now let's go and save and see this promise stage. So you can see that now promise stage is fulfilled and promise state is fulfilled. And let me comment it, and let's think that your friend didn't book the ticket and he denied your request. Then he rejected your request and he didn't fulfill his promise. So deny booking. And now go and save it. Now you see that promise is having the rejected state. So this is a rejected promise. And you can see that promise state rejected and promise result is deny booking. But whereas when you see the promise result here, you can see that promise result is ticket booked. But in case of reject, whatever we pass to the reject method, that will be the promise result value. Deny booking. This is how promise will have the different states, like starting from pending state, then fulfilled state, and rejected state also. Let me uncomment it. Now your promise is fulfilled. So you need to consume it to get the result. So how to do that? Using promise start, and promise is having a handler called then. What is the then handler? That I will tell you now. And this then handler, you will have the again two parameters. One is unfulfilled and unrejected. As I said while discussing about the life cycle of promises, settled promises will have the two different promises, that is fulfilled promises and rejected promises. Once your promise is settled, then you will have the two different states. One is fulfilled, so function, and another one is again. So here you will have the result. So the first one is fulfilled promises and which is having the result, and the second one is rejected promises. So this rejected promise will have the details about why the promise is rejected. In nothing but it will have the error information. So error, that's it. And now here the promise is fulfilled. So here let console.log and print the result. Now you can see that value is ticket is booked, and this function will not get executed because the promise is fulfilled and it is not rejected. So if you rejected, then you will have the like no reject deny to book the ticket, and here let us paste it error. You can see the deny to book the ticket error. So we know that so rejection means something kind of error or something that we need to take a look at. So it is always better practice to throw the error. So new error object, and there you place. Now you can see that error deny to book the ticket, and even you can see the line number where it got rejected. So line number 50, you can see the 50. So this is how we can create the promise, and you can resolve or reject the promise. And once the promise is resolved or rejected, then this then handler will be notified. And in then handler, the first function, which is unfulfilled function, it get called when the promise is resolved. And the second function will get called when the promise is rejected. Promise is very simple, and I hope you understand by now. And the important point that we need to remember is a settled promise can have either fulfilled or rejected promise. So let's say here we have result, here we are rejected, and what I mean is here you can't have the like this. So you can't resolve it and again reject it. So it can be only one thing. So since we resolved it first, then you can see that ticket booked and this fires. After that we rejected, but it won't consider that rejection. So the promise can have either fulfilled promise means either resolve or reject, but it cannot have both at a time. Like let's say set timeout. So here we have the set timeout which will execute after 1 second and that resolve the promise. But even that won't be taken in place and this will be ignored, and same way even this will be ignored. So the scheduled promise will have the only one promise, either fulfill promise or rejected promise. And let me remove this now. As soon as we save it, the ticket booked is called. So we use promise to work in asynchronous way, but it doesn't have to work in asynchronous way. When you do like this, resolve ticket booked, it is having the result immediately, and it will give the result and it get executed. But if you want to provide some delay, then you can use the method, let's say set timeout, and here let's say 1 second I pass, and inside that you can use this. Now you can see after 1 second you get the result. Now let us discuss how to catch the error. Let's say if you are sure about that you are going to get error. So in that case you can use the catch method, and you can avoid using this handler, because here in then handler you will have the fulfilled promises and rejected promises, and you can ignore these and you can have the catch block, and it takes again one parameter like error console.log error. To receive the error we need to reject the ticket, so reject, and you can see the deny booking after 1 second, that from the catch block. And when to use the finally. So as you know, irrespective of the successful or failure conditions, finally will get executed. In the promises also, it acts like the same way. Finally, even though you have error also, the finally block will be get executed. Let's see how to attach the handlers to the then method. Now let me keep resolved here. If you see here we are just displaying the message that whatever we received from the resolved state, but in real time you may need to do some calculations after receiving the data. So for that you need to create another method instead of writing entire thing. So in that case you can write a function constant, let's say show message equal to, and just console log it because I have just string message console.log message, and I will pass this parameter, so it should have take one parameter. Now we have created the function, and this function can be passed as a handler to this then method. So let remove this entire thing and just pass show message, and this show message should be upside. You can see that message received ticket booked. And now let us see how to promisifying the promises. Now what I do, I just create a function that will resolve the promise after a specified time. Let us create a function called wait constant wait equal to, and let me write arrow function here, and this will return the promise, return new promise, and we know that promise will take the executor function. So as we already seen the normal function, I just use arrow functions here, and we know that this executor will take the two functions, that is resolve comma reject. So here I would like to resolve this promise after a 1 second or 2 second, depends on the user input. So here I would like to have the input parameter that user wants to provide. So here let us use the set timeout again, same thing, and here what we do, instead of 1000 we use seconds, means whatever user paused, and multiply by the 1000 milliseconds. So now if user pass the value 1, it will resolve the promise after 1 second. Now let us go and consume it. Same as the way how we consumed the promise, we can consume it. So wait, and here we need to pass the value because we need to specify that after how many seconds we want to resolve that promise. So I just pass 1 second dot. We know that promise will have the handler, then handler, and here I am going to write the fulfilled promise using the arrow function. Since we are not going to reject it, so I am not writing the error handler, which is rejected handler. That's it. And here this will receive the result. So result, say console.log, and here use the result. Now let's go and save it. You can see that ticket booked is displayed after 1 second. Save it. Now it is going to print it after 2 seconds. In our last session, we have seen that if you want to make another call using XML HTTP request after receiving the first call result, then we need to write the another callback function inside the first callback function. We can avoid it by using the promises. So how can you do that? Here I am going to make another call return and call wait, and here I pass 2 seconds, and here let me pass 1 second, and here I mention after 1 second. I just made a call to this and I just returned the promise. So after it receiving its promise value, and then here we made the call to return the promise. Since we return the promise here, again we can consume it using the then handler. So then, and here again I am using the fulfill promise, and here let's say again I mention result 2, and here I will mention after 2 seconds, and let me go and save it. You can see that now first it will print it after 1 second, then it will print after 2 seconds, and this way even you can make another call return wait. Here I pass 3, and I will consume same way, and here I just stop it. Instead of result 2 I mention result 3. You don't need to pass result 1 or result 2, anything you can pass. And here I mention after 3 seconds, and now let's go and save it. You can see that after 1 second, after 2 seconds, then the third message will display after 3 seconds. So this way you can promise failing or you can chaining the promises. In our last session, we can see the callback hell where we need to write the nested callback functions. Here, instead of writing the nested callback functions, you can just return the promise from another promise, and then you can consume that promise like this. So this is very neat and clean, and you can understand the code easily. So this is about promise.